Welcome to The Winning Link, a show dedicated to dissecting business and leadership excellence. We take a deep dive into various aspects of business and operational excellence, current events, and personal and leadership development topics. The guests on the podcast will be credible industry leaders and practitioners, offering a portfolio of techniques and methods for positive growth. It's The Winning Link, powered by Supply Chain Now. I tell you, today's show, we're in Akron, Ohio, in the Lebron James Arena. This is exciting. Thank you for joining the show. I'd like to welcome my co-host, Scott Luton. Scott, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Man, here with a legendary figure in a legendary arena, and we're going to have an outstanding conversation. And by the way, talk about legendary. You and I had dinner with our friend Ellis at Edgar's last night.
Yes.
And wasn't that delicious?
Oh, phenomenal. I think the smoked prime rib you had was, I wanted to reach over to your plate and leave mine. But,
I wasn't going to let you. Fried green tomatoes, rib tips, you name it. All of it was delicious, wasn't it?
It was phenomenal. And the ambient environment was nice.
Yes, it was
really nice.
And the conversation, maybe that's the only thing that may have topped that smoked prime rib, because that was delicious. But as great as that meal was last night, we've got an outstanding conversation teed up today, right?
Absolutely. We have a living legend here with us today. Shall I say an active legend?
There we go.
Right, as he continues to win. Coach Dru Joyce. Dru Joyce is the head coach of Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary's High School. You probably heard about it. A lot of legendary players have come out of this institution of learning. So welcome, Coach Dru.
Billy, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and to talk with you and Scott. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I tell you what, I've known Dru personally, as well as he's actually mentored my children, some of my children, because they've come through this institution.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so he's clearly a developer of youth.
Right.
He invests in people, and that's why I thought he'd be a great guest, because The Winning Link is a show about personal and leadership business development.
Right.
So we can tap into your personal growth, business growth, because you're going to hear today about Coach Dru Joyce. His portfolio extends further than basketball.
Right. Well, and the operative word in your podcast series title is winning. And gosh, I couldn't imagine too many other guests that can epitomize that.
That's right.
Beyond Coach Dru. So, Coach, as I shared with you pre-show, I've made it almost a third through your book here, Beyond Championships.
Yes.
And I'm going to read the rest of my flight back to ATL. But man, what a story! And Billy, we're going to get into some of this, but I really appreciate the transparency and kind of opening yourself up and your journey up, and let folks know, the real deal, keeping it real about your journey and what you faced and what you overcame.
Yes. It wasn't going to be like that, but a gentleman from Zondervan said, hey, you just can't talk about principles. People want to know about you.
Right.
And honestly, I felt like me. Why they want to know about me? So.
Probably has something to do with the trophy case that's stacked to the brim out there, huh?
Yeah. So, so once we started down that road and we started to share, there was just some things that I knew that I could share that would be beneficial, because they were, my life is kind of like 99.9% of all American lives. I'm not that I'm not in that group that is superstardom. I'm just a regular guy trying to do some things to make life better. Yeah.
So Billy, I know we're going to get started here in a second, but I got to say, so the active living legend, as you put it, Coach Dru, very humble. He is exactly what you're here and what you're going to see here today. He's a very humble guy for 7 state titles now, a national championship.
Yes.
Had all kinds of, to your point, he's invested in all kinds of talent,
yes,
including some worldwide icons that have come out of the school here and his coaching tutelage.
Absolutely, because you're right. LeBron wasn't LeBron back then that people know today.
Right.
And so let's be very transparent about that. In fact, the school has won 10 state championships,
right,
and Dru has been a part of 9 of those.
Dang.
And head coach for 7 of those. So, I was kidding about just
taking it for granted.
Right.
We expect Dru to be in the state championship every year.
Right.
It's like we buy our tickets at the end of the last game. Right? And so, but Dru's modest, and I'll say this, and he doesn't know this. I no longer have a child playing.
Okay.
But there's a lot of parents and community people that were in the audience, and I was going in the men's room, and it was someone part of the cleaning service of the arena. They run into the bathroom with me and says, "Hey, is the same guy still coaching that team?" And I said, "Coach Dru Joyce." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, same guy, same guy." So not only we notice and appreciate him, I think the
Legion of
public,
fans.
the
Legion of fans.
So Scott starting there.
Yeah.
You know, that had to come from some sort of foundation for Dru. And Dru, I'd like to hear, tell us a little about growing up in East Liverpool, Ohio.
Wow. So for so many years, I wanted to deny that. Yeah, East Liverpool, Ohio is a small town. When I was growing up, about 30,000 people down on the Ohio River, if you can imagine. It's the first city in Ohio on the Ohio River, Pennsylvania, West Virginia bordering it. And, it was just small town. I grew up in a very humble beginnings on a dirt hill road that, from in a generational household. My grandmother was there, my great uncle, my mother and father, and so that's what I saw. My cousins lived right across the street, and I had some cousins up the street. And so
that's the best.
I
bet y'all had all kinds of games with all the cousins. Right?
That's how it was, and we grew up, and that's football was the main sport. So that's what I played growing up, and through high school, and ran track, but it was small town. There's only one high school, so everybody goes to high school together. Those who are more affluent and those who are less. And I was not the best student, but I was always going to be competitive.
Right.
I wasn't going to be the one who had to hide their paper when the teacher passed it back.
I've been there. And you speak to that in your book about that competitive spirit. It wasn't just related to sports. You apply that to academics too.
Yeah. My mother wasn't going to have it any other way. She didn't care anything about any kind of a ball bouncing or me running down the field catching a pass. That was not, I'm the first person in my family to go to college and to graduate from college. So that was stuff that she, put in me and over the years made sure. There was a time after my first year in college, I transferred, and there were some steel mills around the area, and I got a job in the steel mill, and I'm finally making a few dollars. I'm like, wow, this is good. And some of my friends who didn't go to college, they got cars and they making money. And I'll go to my mom and I said, look, I don't think I'm going to go back to school. And she said, no, you can forget that right here.
Well, so I got to interject really quick because Billy, on some of your previous appearances, your mother had a certain acronym for NFL.
That's right. If you didn't make it at least to be, it meant not for long will you be playing. Right?
Right, okay.
That's what
I can appreciate that. Yeah, not for long.
But,
yes.
But that segues into Scott and Dru values, and that's something that's for the next generation. Values. Talk about some of the biggest values your mother instilled in you that you instilled in the people you mentor and coach.
Oh, it's been great. The one thing that we always talked about was just being thankful. We come from a modest background, like I said, but there was a lot of love in the household, and we were thankful for everything that we got. And so, I talk to my kids now about being thankful. You guys don't get it. You're in a situation, you got LeBron sponsoring the school. You need to be thankful. There's a whole bunch of people and kids that don't have this opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, and then we talk about just having some integrity. You understand. My mother was, about being truthful and honest. She always would press me about, just carrying yourself, and she always said to me, character is who you are when no one's looking.
That's right.
So
that's right.
And so we talk about that with the team. That hey, I need to understand who you are in the classroom. You're not in front of me on the court, but we need to talk about who you are in the classroom, because that's going to be who you are on the court in some moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, quick follow-up. I know there's a couple of questions we want to tell. There's so much about your early days that's fascinating to me, at least, me and Billy. So you're a really, really humble individual, despite all the success, and you had a successful career with Conagra, which we're going to talk about. A successful career, obviously, as a future Hall of Fame basketball coach. We'll see. That's my words. But you're really so humble. Is that part of what you also got from your parents?
You know, my mother was never, one to brag. She always would point out that person to me that she felt was braggadocious, and she, kind of just, let me know that do what you need to do, and, you don't have to stand up and shout all let everyone know.
Right.
You don't have to always get the pat on the back. And it's about the work. So
Right.
she was a hard-working woman, and I'm very appreciative. Neither of my parents graduated high school, so it was always about getting the work done and putting in that kind of time. So she helped me to become humble. She helped me to understand that humility can take you a long way. You're not in you're not in everyone's face, and and that the accomplishments that you have are to be shared, because you didn't get there by yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's definitely coming across. You have a distinct value for family, and I know you have a sister.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And you spent some influential time with your sister in was it Queens?
Yeah, in New York. Yeah, my sister, she's now passed, but growing up, that was it kind of helped me to understand city life. I can remember, it's kind of strange. My wife and I talk about this all the time. In first grade, my sister's 18 years older than me, so I guess I always ask my mom, was I really a mistake? But anyway, my sister's 18 years older than me, and I would go to New York first grade, day after school, was out. I'm on a plane. My mother, back in the day, they could put you on a plane, and my sister would be right there at the gate to take me off. So every summer from first grade through 8th or 9th grade, I spent the summers in New York City, and it really helped. It helped me to see the city and understand city life. I made some good friends there, and it was educational.
Yeah. All the influential figures.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
St. Albans area.
Yeah,
I might have said that wrong.
Yeah, St. Albans, yeah. We used to ride past James Brown House, and we would, those kind of things, and that was a lot of fun. And to the energy of a city, you could just feel it. And from that point forward, I told my wife, I said, that's where I made up my mind. I wanted to marry a woman from a city. I wanted to marry a city girl. So.
Now, what a tremendous advantage to be able to have that experience every summer. What were those ages you did that from?
First grade through 8th grade, yeah. And I would spend 2 months there, and it was, it was so much. It was so different. I mean, there were kids, in my family where I grew up, and there was a few of us, but. We go to New York, and there's you go outside, and there's 40 kids from all up and down the block.
Right.
So it's just
that.
a lot of fun growing up.
Yeah. Scott,
Sir.
This has been interesting.
Oh man, fascinating. I wish we had 6 hours with Coach Dru.
Right. We were talking last night at dinner. We were like, wow, what was it before basketball? So Scott, we got deep into that.
So this is so at Supply Chain Now, right, which we're very fortunate to have the Winning Link be part of, which new series, Billy, this is going to be a lot of fun. If this sets the standard, holy cow. But Conagra, so Supply Chain Now, we're all about industry, global business. Obviously, Conagra is a big name.
Yes.
And some folks may not realize that you had a successful, about a 25-year career at Conagra, right?
Yeah, yes. First job out of college, my only job out of college, and it was Hunt Wesson Foods then. And as I said earlier, first person to graduate from college, and it was a sales job. And I can remember I came home, from East Liverpool to East Liverpool, and my wife's from Pittsburgh. So I go to Pittsburgh, and I'm interviewing for the job. and we weren't married yet, and we were planning to get married that October.
Yep.
And I'm interviewing, and it was funny because I get through the first interview, and they want me to wait, a few weeks for the next interview. I'm like, hey, I'm getting married in a few weeks. I need to,
I need a job.
I need a job, right? So I actually drove the district manager. The district office was here in Cleveland.
Okay.
So I drove to Cleveland to get to the second interview. And so I felt like if you want me, I want you, and then
let's get hitched.
Right, yeah. And
My wife wants us.
Right, exactly. And, the other thing that sold me is they gave me a company car, and I was
Big
driving a little Opel Cadet, that I had through college, and it was on its last legs, and they were saying, yeah, we'll give you a car every 2 to 3 years. You get a new car, and and I'm like, I ain't
Sign
never
me up.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
So I got to ask you kind of a quick aside, because I want to kind of learn more about what you loved about that role, what you didn't like about that role. But little aside, I used to work in the food business myself.
Okay.
With a big food distributor.
Okay.
And we'd cut all kinds of products, right? A taste test, the differences between them. And it dawned on me how much, and hopefully I don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
It dawned on me how much more I like Heinz ketchup versus Hunt's ketchup. So did you convert to Hunt's with your 25 years there?
Hey,
You'll get us in trouble, man. No, I'm just
here's the
kidding.
crazy thing. My wife's father worked at Heinz in Pittsburgh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man.
So I would bring the Hunt's ketchup home, but she would be bringing the Heinz.
Yes.
So,
Good.
so
All right.
yeah, those first 5 years in Pittsburgh, it was kind of a trade-off. I'm saying, look, Hunt's is bringing is a paycheck. We need to buy Hunt's. But she was like, hey, I grew up on this Heinz.
I'm with it. Well, so Conagra, huge, so many different brands that folks know. So 25 years there before you get into a highly successful coaching career. Two-part question. What did you love about your time at Conagra, and what didn't you like so much about it?
Well, honestly, what I loved about it is sales. Sales is, it's rewarding. You know, at the end of the day, did you accomplish something? Did you make a sale? Did you, And I had a great man who was my mentor, and it's a funny story, and it wasn't funny then, but as I think about it now,
That's always how it goes.
Yeah, right.
It is.
He's an Italian gentleman he's passed, but I went through the interview process, and I had a full beard back then, and they were telling me they liked me, but said hey, salesmen don't wear beards. And I'm like, well, do you have a dress code? And he said, well, we wear suits. And I was like, well, do you have how extensive is it? And he said, well, it's pretty extensive. Salesmen don't. And I said, well, are you guys going to hire me? He said, oh, yeah, you're going to start in 2 weeks. I said, well, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. And, so I come back, and I guess they fully believed I was going to shave. And I came back that 2 weeks later. I hadn't shaved. And, I could see that he was taken a little aback by the fact that I hadn't shaved. So we're riding around because I started out going to retail supermarkets and making sure all of our product was on the shelf and in the right spot. But he says to me, and I'm driving, and I'm a young man just out of college. He says, Dru, affirmative action got you this job.
Goodness gracious.
But your performance is what's going to keep it. Wow. And I'm like, dang, I'm like, well, wait, who you don't even know me. You would come like that. You don't even know me.
How do you even respond?
But I got out the car after I took him back to his car and driving home. I'm like, do I really want to be involved with this? This man came at me like that. But you know what? Over the years, he became my mentor. He taught me everything I need to know about sales, and it was a great 5 years that I spent with him, and he really took me under his wing, and I was like a surrogate son. That's how he treated me, and that was so. Beard or no beard, he helped me to go through it. So, but over the years, like I said, the sales was rewarding. You know, we had early on, it was all kind of contests, and you could win this.
Spiffs.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you.
You know, we won so, you know, and I was pretty good at it. You know, I'm competitive. I wanted to win. I won trips to the Super Bowl. We went to London. In fact, when we got married, because I didn't really have a job, so we had no honeymoon. You know, it was a night at the hotel down the street. So, and we got married. You know, so I'm so thankful now. But you know, people talk about weddings now.
Right.
My wife's mother, my mother-in-law, and her sisters cooked all the food for our wedding.
Wow.
You know, I mean, that's how it was. And I mean, her and my mother-in-law's sisters, they came up from Alabama to help her prepare the food for this food for the wedding. Wow. And it was, you know, that's the kind of, you know, family that it was. But you know, I'm just thankful, and you know, we went to the hotel down the street, and we had our time together, and you know, so. And
it's a great memory looking back now.
Yeah, it's a great memory. You know,
you don't know what you don't know.
And we didn't know, and you know what, but you know, so those were just some of those special things that happened early on in the career, and. But as you know, the children started coming, and we had 2 daughters a couple years in, and then because I didn't shave, I was they had me there because hey, affirmative action had me there. So and I was doing some good things and winning some trips. But what I started to say is that first year of that was our honeymoon. We won a trip. And our honeymoon was to Washington, D.C. and Williamsburg, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, so we went to that was our honeymoon.
Fantastic. Busch Gardens, maybe?
Yeah, we went to Busch Gardens, yes.
Loch Ness Monster and Big Bad Wolf. I've been there.
Okay, yeah.
You were going to comment on something, I think.
You pointed out something that I think is a lost art in today's leadership. Mm-hmm. That level of transparency, and I call it the ugly baby, having the ugly baby. That's right. You can't, in business, you can't walk up and avoid that question. Mm-hmm. You have, and that leader, to say what he said to you, trust, transparency, to let you know, right, what's your current reality. And often we avoid that, and that's the lost art on today's youth, because, when we grew up, just think about our great-great-grandparents. They essentially lived to work, right? They had the farm. Right. Mm-hmm. They had to go do this, right? And our parents, they went to work so we could live, right? They paid for our college. Like you said, degrees and stuff weren't a priority back then. Mm-hmm. Today, our kids do what? They work and live, right? Mm-hmm. They get information so quick on their phones. Mm-hmm. And so the lost art of transparency is some parents skirt around that.
Yes.
And I've seen you do this with young men around that conversation of transparency. How important do you think that is, and was it in your professional life at Conagra?
It was very important. That kind of set the tone for who he was and how we want to deal with this, how we're going to work, and over the years, you got to appreciate that he dealt with hard truth, and no one wants hard truth anymore. Right. I tell my players, hey, I'm going to give you the hard truth. I'm not sugarcoating this. You think you're this player? Well, here's where I'm at with you, and it's not something to be demeaning or anything, but it's just to give them that a wake up, because a lot of times you're walking around with your head in the clouds, and you need to come down to earth and really understand and see things.
It might hurt their feelings, but it furthers their journey.
For
it's
sure.
What they need to hear. What we all need to hear is
and that's exactly what that comment did for me. And on that first day of work, it was a hard truth, and I was either going to perform, or I wasn't going to be around. And I chose to perform, and
I'm glad I wasn't a fly on the wall in that vehicle. Man,
Right.
that was a real moment.
Yes,
Goodness
it
gracious.
was. It was. And then 5 years in, I get an opportunity to come to Cleveland and move into a promotion role, senior sales rep, and then from there to a management role and as an account manager. And so it's been a great journey. It was a great journey. I think that the main things that I still take from that are just understanding the process. That I tell the guys, you got to trust the process.
That's right.
There's a process. There's a way of going about things, and it doesn't always match up to what you want or how you see it. But if you trust the process, then we can get to the same that same goal that both of us want. But there's a process here, and we need to trust this process.
Love that. I don't want to shortchange 25 years in a successful career at Conagra, but I want to move us ahead because I want to. You had a really tough decision to make.
Yeah.
And that you speak to in the book. I love the exchange you put in the book about it. And that was to leave Conagra and chase your passion. So
Right.
talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, as I got going in this, and my kids were growing up, and Dru would follow me around. I'm the weekend warrior, And
Your son.
my
Your
son Dru,
Yep.
follow me around, and I could see he was falling in love with basketball, and I took him to a rec center, and the first one I took him to, he was 7, and you had to be 8 years old. This is like in December. I'm like, look, he turns 8 in January. He's pretty good. I let him play. They turned me down. So I take him to Ed Davis Community Center, and Jerry Rowland, kind of an Akron legend here. I walk in. I said to Jerry, I said, look, he's pretty good, but he's only 7. And Jerry said, I'm gonna let him play under.
Okay.
But he said under one circumstance. And I said, well, what's that? He says, you have to coach the team.
Wow,
And
that's quite an ask.
Yeah. So, I had kind of in high school thought about being a coach. So this was, but coaching football. So there was an opportunity. So I jumped at it, and over the years, that first year, I had fun with it. Then responsibilities at work got a little more, so I couldn't do it the next year. But I was that dad who was always trying to be in the stands, trying to be there. And one time, Dru gets, asked to play on a travel team. I didn't know anything about travel basketball, but I'm taking him around, and we play. And some of the kids on the team, they leave. And I happened to, tell the guy who was coaching, I said, hey, I know another pretty good player, And
You're kind of part agent
right.
too there, right?
I said, yeah, I know another pretty good player. And, and it was LeBron James. And so I take LeBron to a practice, and it was right at the end of the travel season in June, so we didn't really get to play, but we didn't get to play any tournaments. The team kind of fell apart. That next fall, the guy who was coaching the team, he leaves. He was a younger guy.
Yep.
He graduated college, gets a job coaching and teaching in a school, and the parents come to me and say, why don't you coach the team? So again, I'm saying this is fun. And as I started coaching the team over those years at 11, 12, 13, I just said, like I said in the book, there was times I would drive, I'd pull up in the driveway after work, and I would just sit there in the car for a moment, and the question became, what have you really done today that matters? And, then I get out the car, and we'd have a practice, and I'd pack all these kids in our van and drive them to Cleveland. And then I was seeing, wow, this matters. These kids, they're, the joy on their face when we would travel, and all those firsts, LeBron and all the guys, the first time they seen the ocean was with us. The first time they rode in a plane, not just LeBron, but a bunch of kids with us. And, so the passion in coaching it just started to grow. And
Can I interrupt just for a second?
Sure.
Because we knew we were going to get moments of brilliance with Coach Dru, and he just dropped, I think, a question, Billy, that we all should be asking ourselves. He talked about coming home from Conagra one day and, sitting in the driveway. What have what have I really done today that matters? Billy, speak to that really quick, because that hit me like a ton of bricks.
No, and when he said that, what have I done? And think of the title of his book, Beyond Championships.
Right, that's right.
Those are the things that are beyond championships, beyond paychecks, beyond, right? Because, you know, when I look at what he's talking about, as a parent, there's presence and presents.
Right.
Okay.
That's
You
right.
can give your child a present, a bike, a PlayStation.
Nintendo.
Right.
For me back in the day.
But you know what? Your child will forget those things. But the things that they take to the grave, the things we've talked about with Dru today, are the presence his family had, the presence his mom had. You know, I always say, define winning.
Yeah.
Me as a father, winning is being present, being available for my kids. Those are the values. That's when you know you make a difference.
Yep.
The coach, the people you coach, they don't come back and say, "Hey, Dru, there's our banner." They don't say, "Coach, thank you for making it." My son will text him. My son will actually have those relationships, right, because of his presence. And that's the thing when you say you make a difference. And the kids that are in the bleachers that play for you, they all come back to the game.
Yes.
Right? And so that's what I mean.
I love that. And speaking to that, we're going to have a quote here in a minute I'm going to share with you. But thank you for letting us interrupt just for a second.
Sure.
So you took us right up to the moment
Right,
when you're thinking
yes,
about
yeah.
coaching for a living.
Yes. You know, and I have to admit, you know, as I grew into this love for coaching and being involved with the young men grew with me. Honestly, my desire to be at work and to do the Conagra thing kind of dwindled.
Right.
So, you know, the company, I don't think that I was still getting the stuff done, but the word got out because now I'm coaching, the best player in the country on a high school, and I can remember one time, LeBron, because he's LeBron, he's on the front page of USA Today.
Right.
It's
crazy.
And I'm in the background, and the president of our company of Conagra Foods, he calls my boss. He says, "What is Dru doing on the front page of USA Today, coaching this high school team?" So,
wow.
And my boss, Gordon Everett, a personal friend, he explained, hey, he's doing this after work. He's not cutting any corners, blah. But so I don't think the company really was gung ho about everyone in the sales force becoming a coach or anything. And,
Headline.
right. So there was I felt like they were putting me out to pasture. I was calling on the largest account here in the Midwest, Giant Eagle Supermarkets, $15 million a year, and
wow.
They made a decision that they were going to move me out of the account. They were going to move me to an account in New York that had been in Syracuse, New York, that had been in Chapter 11 twice.
Wow.
So I'm like, wow. Now, I'm like, so at that meeting when they were telling me this, my son Dru is a freshman in college, and my youngest son Cameron is a freshman in high school. So when this comes up, I said, well, yeah, I'll do it. I'll drive to Syracuse once a week, and I'll do it. But I got in the car. I'm driving home from the meeting, and I called my wife, and I said, my mouth said yes, but my heart is saying no.
No. Wow. So, really quick aside, driving that once a week to Syracuse, it was a good thing they gave you a company car, because that Opel Cadet may not make that trip.
The Opel had died years earlier. Yeah, the Opel had died.
So you made that decision. You took that leap. We're not going to be able to give it justice today, but one of the first things you did, I believe, was create like a 50-team AAU league.
Hey, I was trying to figure out how am I going to make a living.
Sure. Hey, every entrepreneur can relate to that.
Yeah.
So let's talk. You mentioned LeBron James, of course, a couple times, and we don't want to dwell on LeBron. It's gosh, goodness gracious, what he's been doing. Let's talk about what's one impact that you believe you've had on him as a player or as a person, and then what's one impact he's had on you as a coach and a person.
Sure. He said it to me. He said it more than once that I helped him become a man, helped him grow into becoming a man. And he really said I taught him about understanding what it means to sacrifice, because he saw sacrifices that I made for all those boys that were riding around. And so I think sacrifice and helping him understand, what it means to be a man, and helping him grow into, because LeBron was very, very observant. He watched everything. Not only was he observant when we had basketball practice, but how I treated my wife, how I treated the lady at the restaurant who maybe messed up the order. He's watching all those things. So we were very cognizant, not just me, but the other coaches, of how we portrayed ourselves in front of those young men. That we just believed at that moment that we needed to uphold a value and a role model. We recognize, hey, we're role models, and we need to do it in the right way. Yeah. So, but for me, I think one of the things that he's helped me understand really truly is about the work. I've seen him in high school. I had the pleasure with the documentary, the release of the documentary,
right,
to travel around the world with him. But everywhere we went, he took time out every day to put in time on the court to work. I mean, we're in China, and it's funny, I still think about it. We go to this gym. It's supposedly a gym, and it's got a hoop, but the bathrooms are just like holes in the floor.
Wow.
And but he's there, and he's putting in that time. So over the years, it's been a great lesson for me, and I share it with all the kids. It's about the work. There's no shortcuts to this.
Yes, I love that. I'm gonna have to go back and find her name. We had a chemical industry PhD with us. She formerly worked at NASA. Brilliant. We had her back a couple times with us on Supply Chain Now. And Billy, to your point, Coach, she was asked by one of our attendees, "Hey, how do I move into how do I earn my PhD? How do I become a leader? How do I move into the C-suite and all that kind of stuff?" And to that question, she said, "You do the work. You do the work. You want to do this, you do the work. You want to do this, you do the work." I mean, I hate to be too simplistic, but simplicity is a good thing sometimes.
Oh, very good. Very good. Sometimes it's the best thing.
Right. That's right. All right. So, Billy, I've got one more thing I want to ask, Coach.
Sure.
As I said, we need 6 hours, maybe 12 with Coach Dru. There's so many elements of your journey. I want to get both of y'all to speak to this, but the quote is about you, Coach. LeBron says, I think in the foreword of your book, says, quote, "My brothers and I were no different from other kids all over the world. We all had dreams. For too many kids, those dreams feel unreachable. But for us, they never did, because Coach Dru showed us that no matter what sort of obstacles we faced, we could make our dreams a reality," end quote. What does that mean to you?
It just goes back to when we were 11 years old. That team was 11. I wasn't. I'm coaching an 11-year-old team, and we would go to the first national championship. And we it's funny. I think about it. We had put 5 guys in our car. 2 kids had never even played with us. We picked up 2 new kids. We drive to Cocoa Beach, Florida, and we play in the AAU Nationals, and we're in awe. They have all the teams marching in like this, the Olympics, and So, and we played well. We finished 9th, and from that point, I said, "Look, fellas, let's win a national championship. We can do this." And we started talking. I said, "Look, when we get, we're going to tell. I want you guys to say this. I want you guys to talk about it. I want you guys to, tell you we're going to win a national championship." And I said, there's going to be people who look at you like you crazy and you foolish, and that ain't going to happen, and you're going to hear. I said, but you got to keep talking it, keep saying it. And, over the years, the next year we went, we finished 10th. Then we go to 13 and under. We get knocked out. We don't finish. We don't win at all. Then at 14 and under, we get to the championship game, and we lose. And I'm thinking, wow, this is the last time I'm going to get to coach them. And
There's a lot of pressure on you at that moment, I believe. You speak to that.
Because I thought, hey, I'd spent so much time with them, and we were grooming them to all go to high school together, and I just felt like, hey, it's been great, and I've enjoyed it, and hey, you could see the LeBron was going to, at that point, I didn't know he was going to be the star that he is now, but I knew that he was going to have a great future in basketball. I knew that. There was no doubt. He was the best player at that 14 and under AAU national championships. And it was tough. And then, so they make the decision to come here. And honestly, Keith Dambrot asked me to come on.
Right.
And,
that's the previous head coach
here
prior to you.
And he asked me to come on and be an assistant. He said, hey, these are your kids. These are your guys. And then 2 years after that, he leaves and calls me up. Well, honestly, I'm doing a parade of homes with my wife. And we're walking out through homes. And a reporter calls me and says, hey, the kids are you going to take the kids and leave now that Keith's going to Akron U? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I hadn't heard anything. So I get home that evening. I call Keith. He says, yeah, I took the job at Akron U. I want to get back into college coaching, and I want you to replace me. And for a minute, I was like, wow, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready for this because the team's nationally ranked. They over the 2 years, they've only lost one game in 2 years.
Dang.
And I'm thinking, coaching AAU and coaching high school is, I'm not sure about this, but my wife just said to me, she says, how can you say no?
Right.
How can you say no?
Earlier.
Yeah, she said, this is God, honoring all those years of you driving up and down the highway with those boys. How can you say no? So I needed to hear that. Sometimes you need that little push.
Yes.
That's why it's important for everyone. I talk about it in the book that there's no bootstraps. You don't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. There's always someone out there who's going to help you, someone that's going to just, if it's just a comment like she made to me, that you need to hear at that moment, and I needed to hear it. So, I accept the job, and I understood if we win, it's going to be because they were Keith's kids.
Right.
But I said if we lose, it's going to be my fault.
That's right.
And that first year, what did? We lost. And it was tough. But we still had that dream. We kept that dream of winning a national championship. And the guys came back, and, the gentleman just walked in. He was one of the ones that really said to the guys after that junior year, they're going to their senior year, hey, we're going to listen to Coach Dru. We're going to get this done. Mm-hmm. And to have that happen, to win that national championship, I know – all those years of having them tell people we're going to win a national championship, they got to see that, hey, dreams come true.
Right.
It may not happen like you want it. It may not come. It may not be
as quick as you want
it, or But if you stay with it, if you stick with it, if you are willing to go through the obstacles, the ups and downs, and figure out how to make it work, that's what you do. And when you look at anyone's life who's been successful, that there's been those adversity, that you have to go through. And those guys, they stuck together and made it happen. And now the banner's hanging, and it's all fun.
Which, Billy, we're about to dive into. But really quick aside, you have alluded to a couple times, and we can't get into it today, but having all the players in the van, taking them coast to coast, down in Florida, you name it. I bet there's a series just focused on those stories from those trips, but we'll save that for another time.
I saw it last Friday. A couple of his former players were up in my office. And they were actually just telling, they're like true siblings, right? They're picking on each other. One says, I was a pretty skilled big man, and the other one looked over and like, it was kind of the old thing my mom would say, the older you get, the better you were, right?
The better you were, right.
And so I saw that. But I don't want to miss out on something, too. And we've all shared the same thing since we've been talking this morning. And he said his wife, Carolyn, called him and was his best advisor in that situation. What did you say this morning? My wife was a big part of integral part of your business.
That's right.
As well as Linked Excel. My wife played a big role. And so Drew, that leads me into, right, let's talk about, Scott, the formula for winning.
That's right.
You seem to have the recipe, right? The fact.
Chef Dru.
Yeah,
and
Chef Dru.
and Coach
Right?
Dru.
Yeah, chef of winning. Chef, basketball chef. I'm going to give him a new nickname. The basketball chef who has the ingredients of winning. Now, he's also a chef. For those, we do have, cooking events around Akron, and Dru always wins. Now, I don't know if he has a stacked deck or what, but he's beaten me a couple of times in those shows. But
well, hang on a sec. I took notes earlier. Evidently, one of the winning dishes is spice rubbed chicken with a spicy coleslaw.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's the signature one.
Okay.
He crushed my lobster mac and cheese. Let me tell you, he crushed it. Let me see.
Yeah.
But Dru, let's talk about, in business I always go into companies and I say the formula for winning is strategy plus execution equals results. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that plus is what often gets overlooked. Mm-hmm. Who owns what? Okay. Right? You got to look at, and for me it's always extreme ownership, because in the absence of ownership, people want to blame you. Yeah. They want to blame the coach when they lose. But coach didn't play. Coach didn't make any passes. But there's several intangibles that come into play. So, Dru, I just want to talk about the formula for winning for you in basketball. Yeah. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that first group. It's selling the vision. Yeah, we were able to sell the vision, and that's what I've been good at. I've been good at getting the kids to every year to buy in that this is your time. Mm-hmm. We talk about it before the season, and I know some of the younger kids probably think, he's kind of crazy. I'm telling them, I need you to visualize. I need you to visualize right now you cutting down those nets at the final game in the state championship. I need you to see it. I said, so, and I need you to think about this, and I need you to understand that's the destination. Now, there's going to be a lot of stops on this journey, but I want you to start to visualize that. And so you get the kids to you start out to buy into that vision, and then as we said earlier, it's about trusting the process. I tell the kids all the time that the difference between good and great are the details. So, we're going to focus on the details. And then the other thing that has been really good for me is, this is management. I learned in management. You manage to your strength, you staff to your weakness.
That's right.
I love that. Dude, that is a quotable.
That is some. You repeat that for the.
Yeah, you manage to your strength, you staff to your weakness, and and that not only goes with my coaching staff, but with the players you put on the floor. Yeah. You manage to that strength, and you staff around those guys to the weakness, and so that's how we go about it. And then the other thing, that I think that is sometimes overlooked: do what you do best. My guys tell you, you might come to our practice and you just gonna go. It's all about defense the whole practice. We're gonna guard you. That's what everyone knows. That's what everyone understands. You play St. Vincent St. Mary, they're gonna guard you. You ain't getting no easy ones here. So and we so those are the kind of things that have built the culture.
Yes.
And we don't. I tell the kids coming in, I don't know y'all right now. Yeah. We'll get to know each other, but I'm not lowering the standard.
I love
this
that.
is the standard. I'm not lowering the standard.
I got to ask you really quick. So I'm a big Clemson fan. Right?
Yes.
Oliver Purnell, what coached Clemson basketball, was one of my favorite coaches. He had the diamond press. Because to your point, there was no easy buckets. And he wasn't going to give up any real estate. From the time you inbounded the ball all the way down, we're going to be all on you. I love that. It sounds like that's core to your coaching philosophy too.
Yeah, we're going to guard you 94 feet. Sometimes we might trap you, but even if we don't trap you, that one guy on you, you're going to know he's there. You're going to know he's there.
I love that. All right.
He said something I want to touch on when you said manage to your strengths after your weakness. I do keynote speaking as well, and I know you do. You actually came to Goodyear and spoke to the whole leadership team. And I would say, I had 13 degrees. I was smart. I had 13 degrees. And it was, wow, you got 13 degrees. I said, yes. I was smart enough to earn 2, and I hired 11. Right. And I used all 13.
Right.
Because I know that there's some weaknesses. And that leads me into, even culture, right? And I look at, you had a profound impact on my daughter Alexis, who came to the school. It was all new to her.
Yeah.
And you were her source of mentorship, the source, because she played basketball, really aggressive, and she would often Coach Dru, and now she sees Coach Dru, she'll shoot through those doors because he had an impact. And she didn't play boys basketball, right? She has a relationship. When I think of you and the impact you've had, and I'm thinking 100 years from now. 100 years from now, what do you want people to think or say about the legacy of Coach Dru Joyce you're most proud of?
Oh boy, I honestly, it's been about, giving back. That, I truly believe that, that in life that everyone says, people talk about your life's purpose. I think everything in your life should have purpose, but. This has, coaching has purpose for me. I see it as my sacred responsibility. I get to pour my life into the lives of young men at a very impressionable age, and I need to take it serious. I need to understand that, what I do, how I carry myself. Even like Billy's talking about his daughter. I can remember it's funny. She came to the school. She's new. They have a basketball retreat, and. They asked me to come to the girls' basketball retreat and speak at the retreat, and I go in, and I've seen other girls around, and I see this new face, and she's kind of sitting back, and but her eyes didn't come off me. She was listening to like every word I said. So, but those moments, my pastor always used to tell me, you just don't know how much you've impacted someone, and sometimes they don't really understand it. He used an example of one time he used it in a sermon. He says, "Do you remember what you had for dinner September 13th?" And
everybody's like, "Nope.
No, I can't remember what I had yesterday." And he said, "But that's there's been people in your life and that." Sometime in your past took a moment with you, poured into you for that one day, that 1 hour, and helped you become to who you are. And
there's a quote. I'm gonna butcher this, I'm sure. It's been attributed to Saint Francis of Assisi. I think I got that right. And it goes along the lines of what you're sharing. Basically, be careful with your words because it may be the only sermon that you interact with hears today.
Yeah.
And to your point, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be we just cast it off. We don't think about it. But clearly, you had a big impact, whether you knew it or not, with Alexis, right?
Absolutely.
And gosh, I think about all the other students that come through here, folks that played for you, folks that didn't. But they interacted with you. They were observing you.
Yeah.
I mean, you have touched on, talking about legacy. You've touched on countless lives. That's got to be going back to that moment as you're sitting in your driveway and you're thinking about what have I done today. Man, that's got to be fulfilling, Coach.
It is, and I'm very thankful, and honestly, this is very blessed. And even this year, here at the school, they used my book in a leadership class, and there were players in the class that I had cut.
Ooh,
and
man.
To have after the class they let me come in the last day and speak, and I shared, and then the teachers told me afterwards, this young man, he was just talked about how much of an influence you are in his life, and I'm thinking, wow, that's a guy that I cut, and so you just don't know, so you need to be conscious of all those moments, all those
sermons you're making, whether you know it or not.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
My most impressionable moment, I was heading out, and you were in the middle of the court. This was last week, and you look up to me, and I was leaving, and you had everybody wanted you to have the net, and I looked at you, and I didn't see a coach. I saw an investor in human capital. And I've seen you invest so much into young talent and adults so that they can withdraw something out later on because they don't know. And to that, it takes leadership courage, and I just want you to. This is the last question I want you to expound upon, because I've said it, and I've stole this one from you. I don't treat everyone equally, but I treat them fairly. Mm-hmm. I treat them fairly, right? And I laughed Jimmy Johnson once, and he said, he was talking. He says, if Troy Aikman of the Dallas Cowboys, if he fell asleep, I'd probably just wake him up.
Right.
And I talk to him afterwards, don't do it again.
Right.
Now, if a rookie that he said, I'm going to cut him.
Right.
Is that after he said, how about them Cowboys? Or is that right before?
I think that's what got him too high about them Cowboys. Coach, talk about that, because I know you treat a lot of people fairly.
Yeah, when guys come in, and I was just talking with a parent just yesterday, and I shared, I said, look, your son comes in as a freshman, and, I'm not going to hold him back. If he's good enough to play varsity as a freshman, then he'll play. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be fair with him, and that's one thing you can definitely understand, and how that looks. Now, going over the years while he's here, you may not agree with. And I have parents all the time that, well, my son's got a short leash. Well, your son has a short leash because that's what he's got.
Right.
And as Jimmy Johnson said, Sincere Harris, this year our star player, I told guys, hey, look, he's going to take some bad shots. Now, I'm going to live with his, but I'm not living with yours. All right? I'm not living with yours. I'm going to live with his because he leads us in scoring, he leads us in rebounding, he's the number 2 guy in assists, and he plays harder than all of you. So he's earned something that you may have not. Mm-hmm. So that's where the equality comes in. Now, hey, I'm gonna be. Hey, this is he's getting what he's worked for, and now the fairness is you show me that work, and your day will come too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that.
Good. Well, this has been a great show. And Dru, as we look up and here at St. Vincent St. Mary's, as Dru said, they only hang state banners.
Yeah, only one. That's all. State championships.
No state championships. No regionals. But the legacy that you have as a person, as a leader, as a coach, it will go 200 years.
Oh, gosh.
It will be, right? And it's. I was at a clothing store this week, about a week ago, and the guy says he's golfed with you before.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Leapy.
Yeah.
And he goes, people see you on the golf course and they want to come talk to you. And he says, so that's your legacy, and you're very modest, right? And so, I'm proud to know you. I really respect you. And when I brought you up to Scott, he was like, wow.
Man, I'm on cloud 9 right now. If you can't note, I got about 18 pages of notes. But you never know when you meet celebrities or you insert whatever word, how they're going to be. Billy, this is better than advertised, and the openness with which and the humility with which you share. Mm-hmm. Man, that's like a secret sauce. But we got to make sure, Billy, we got to make sure folks know how to get the book, how they can connect with Coach.
Right, because he's a great speaker. Like I said, I had him come in to speak at Goodyear. He's actually spoke to some of our affinity groups. And so, Dru, and in the book, Dru, how do people get in contact with you if they want to inquire about you speaking?
Sure, yeah. My email address is pretty simple. It's Coach Dru, DRU, at neobasketball.com. And, contact me there. I'm on that. I'm not big on I got some social media.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter. I may not answer you if you hit me on Twitter. It's at Coach Dru Joyce, but I may not. But send me an email. Go to the website. Send me an email. I will follow up. And the book is you can get the book in Amazon, and
that's where I got it.
Yeah, yeah. Zondervan is the publisher, and I'm just thankful. And I've learned a lot from this guy here too. I use this one all the time. He said, "What you tolerate, you can't change." And you mean
the mayor here?
Yeah. So
Billy.
I've I had him come in and talk to the team also, and he shared his wisdom and all the things that he's accomplished in his life, and it's been great. We have a lot of great fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but I got one final question.
Mm-hmm.
What's his basketball game like?
He and I don't get on the court.
Okay.
Yeah. We leave that alone.
Know your strengths.
That's right.
Recruit those others.
Right. That's it. Hey.
Well, we have to have you back. Got to have you back when
Well, it's been my pleasure. I'm thankful for you to have me come, and I appreciate this opportunity to share. I really do. Thank you.
Well, Scott called me Dru's agent, right? And so, again, I would recommend him as a speaker. I recommend his book if you're having some leadership training, because the key takeaways in the book are beyond basketball. Okay, and so keep that in mind. Scott, thank you.
Blast.
Yes.
Treat.
Scott fuels a supply chain now, and Scott and I met through a series of guest podcasts, and so I've joined the supply chain now team.
All right.
So the winning link. So that's a good thing to celebrate. Scott, what's the favorite thing that Dru said that resonates with you as a leader?
Man, well, you see all my
I know, that's why I want to go there to close this out.
I can't harp on this enough. That moment, that eureka moment he had as he pulled into his driveway and had that real moment with himself and asked him that question. I mean, that was a pivotal moment for him, but as leaders, as practitioners, as humans, I think that's a question we all have to ask ourselves. And whether you ask it daily or weekly or whatever the cadence is, the answer to that question is where the secret sauce in our journeys lies. So, Coach,
I
really
like that. Yes.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Love your story.
Very
Thank you.
good.
All right.
Well, to everyone, this is The Winning Link. We're here in Akron, Ohio, in the Lebron James Arena. And I'd like to leave you with this. This is my favorite quote. If you make people visible, they'll make you valuable.
All right.
Thank you. Signing off on The Winning Link.
Thank you for listening to The Winning Link. Please go to our website for links to everything that was mentioned in today's episode. Please subscribe to The Winning Link to be notified of our latest news, events, and updates. We welcome you to the Link team.